Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you'll hear ridiculous stories about people who believe they can do no wrong and they should always get what they want. Guys, before we dive into the stories today, take a look at this. For my 16th birthday, I asked for a white Cadillac. My parents bought me silver, so I crashed it on purpose. What in the world? Guys, I remember seeing this before on the internet, and she literally posted a week after with a brand new white Cadillac in her parents' garage, with an end caption that said, "Should've got me a white one in the first place. SMH. Like, guys, I've seen kids throw tantrums because they get the wrong color iPhone, but a wrong color car? Like, what is going on? Guys, if this were my kid, they would be taking the bus until they could afford their own car. My friends, if you think that's entitled, wait until you hear the stories in this one. The first story, a mom tries to force her daughter to be a Karen. The second story, a Karen harasses OP because she's pregnant. And we'll finish up with an entitled dad who loves to tell his kids how much they can eat. What? Guys, I hope you enjoy the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future stories. So, this is a story about my own mother, and yup, she's the Karen. So, I'm a young lady with a rather large chest. I'm an E in my country, and I think a double D in the USA. Because of that, if I'm leaving the house, bras are mandatory. About 2 years ago, when I was 19, I bought the most comfortable bra I'd ever bought before. I only had that bra for about 3 months until the underwire broke free and started to stab me. It happened at university, and when I got home that afternoon, I told my mother all about it. The bra was $60 and only 3 months old, so maybe it was just defective. I was gonna go to the store and ask for an exchange or refund, but the only thing was, I didn't have a receipt. I take good care of my bras, so I didn't think to keep the receipt. I told this to my mom and wondered what I should do. My mother started and said, "Well, that's not okay. You know what to do, right? Let them know that it's illegal for them to sell faulty products. Do not leave the store until you have that refund. If the cashier says they can't refund it without a receipt, then ask to speak to the manager. They will sort you out." Now, my mother has never worked in retail herself, but I, at this point in time, had been there for about 4 or 5 years. I know the annoyance of the phrase, "Can I speak to your manager?" and was not about to enforce it on an innocent civilian. I told her, "No, I'm not gonna do that. That would just be rude." And she says, "Well, I could do it for you then. I'll just say my daughter bought a defective bra, which is illegal to sell, and we demand a refund because according to the law, no, we're not doing that either. It's not the cashier's fault that one bra happened to be defective, so I'm not gonna treat them as if it is. I'll just go in, explain my situation, and ask what their policy is about refunds without a receipt." So, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what I did. I walked in, found the cashier, and explained my $60 bra broke in 3 months and did not have the receipt in the friendliest and kindest way possible, because I know how much working in retail sucks. The lady said that she did need some proof of purchase and asked me what day I bought it on. She was so kind and lovely as well. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and looked at the transactions 3 months ago and found the date of the exact $60 purchase. I gave her the date, she typed it into her computer, and found a transaction on that date for $60 in the exact bra, color, and size too. She printed that off, scanned it, and refunded the original purchase. I thanked both ladies for their amazing help and walked out of the store with my new and non-defective bra. See, Mom, you can have a social interaction without belittling retail staff and acting like a know-it-all, and God forbid, demand to speak to the manager. Just be kind. My friends, take a lesson from OP here. There's no need to raise your voice and get demanding in stores to get what you want, people. You end up looking like an idiot, creating a scene, and a lot of the time you leave with nothing but wasted energy. If you're kind to retail staff, they will do their best to help you. Getting angry does not solve anything, Karens. I have no idea why I read this story first, because this next story, a Karen, is relentless. So, I'm a cocktail waitress, and I'm 7 months pregnant. No, obviously I don't drink while I'm pregnant, or drink on the job ever. So a woman, the Karen, comes in, with what I'm assuming was her husband and son and daughter, and asked to be seated for lunch. We're not really a restaurant, but we do have a small apps menu with sandwiches and wings and stuff. I give them the menus, and Karen says, "But wait, do you work here?" I told her yep, and Karen says, "But you're pregnant. You can't work here if you're pregnant." I told Karen that I work here, I don't drink here. I try to say it with a laugh, trying to keep the mood light. The woman looks over and says, "Have you taken any prenatal courses? Do you really think that's responsible to have your unborn baby in here?" And that's where I made an error. So I get defensive about anyone asserting that I'm a bad mother, obviously. So I said, "Well, you've brought your kids in here." Karen responds, "Yes, and what kind of example do you think you're setting for them?" I'm still collecting my thoughts at this point when they grunt and wave me away. I figure I can kiss my tip goodbye, but hopefully that'll be the end of a discussion. I see them flagging down the bartender after a few minutes, and I figure they're ready, so I go over. Karen asked to speak to a manager. Now, they haven't even gotten the drinks yet, so nothing above my abilities could really be wrong yet. I just ask if there's anything I can help them with, and her husband, Mr. Karen, says really sternly, "No, just the manager. Didn't you hear my wife?" So this place is too small for a manager. It's just servers and bartenders and 2 co-owners. The one who's working in the back on the phone call will be pissed if I go and bother her. I realize that they're probably still uncomfortable with me being pregnant, so I say, "Maybe Ella can help." Ella, the other server. But Karen just gets up to physically look for the manager. I admit defeat and go back to drag her off her call. The owner tried not to let on how mad she is about being disrupted and goes over with a big smile to ask if there's anything she can help them with. Karen informs her, as though it's urgent breaking news, "Your server is pregnant." The owner says she's aware and asks if they'd prefer a different server, and Karen says, No. She can't be a drink girl if she's pregnant. That's child abuse." The owner says, "I assure you, none of our employees drink on the clock. Especially not our pregnant ones. If you'd prefer, I can have Ella serve you." And Mr. Karen says, "I don't want my kids seeing this." Maybe I'm missing something, but seeing what exactly? And he responds, talking really slowly and condescendingly, "A pregnant woman around all this alcohol." I told him I don't know what he's insinuating, but I would never drink during pregnancy. Karen then responds, "Look, honey, didn't you take a health class in junior high? With a drink right under you half the time, alcohol vapor is absorbed into your blood through the air, and then that blood goes to the fetus and poisons it." The owner and I exchange a look and realize we will not get anywhere with her. The owner says, "So we can have Ella serve you, or I'm afraid there's not much else we can do." Mr. Karen says, "We're not leaving until she's placed on mat leave, or better yet, fired." Karen chimes in, getting crocodile teary, and said, "You may not think that a fetus is a child, but I was taught to believe life begins at conception, and I will stand up for all living things, big and small, because that's what my Lord and Savior wants me to do." So the entire time she's delivering this tearful speech, she's looking around expecting others to, to join with her or applaud. She then continues and says, "Jesus is love, and Jesus said this is not okay. Just because you think it's okay to abuse a child if it's small enough, hey, I don't need anyone to tell me what Jesus said. If there was abuse here, I would have acted to stop it, but there isn't any. I need you to please leave." Karen then says, "I'm calling the police." The owner tells her to just go ahead and do that. And as we all wait for the cops to arrive, Karen keeps trying to give her sermon. And eventually everybody yelled at her until she piped down. So enter officers 1 and 2. Officer 1 says, "Yeah, we received a call. Is there a Mr. Karen here somewhere?" And Mr. Karen says, "Right here, officers." The officer asked, "Are the parties involved still in the bar?" They point me out. I pretend not to notice because I'm worried the officers will take them outside and I won't be able to watch any more fireworks. Officer 2 asked exactly what's going on, and Karen says, "That woman was drinking. She's pregnant. You can clearly see that she's very pregnant." So before I can go over and tell them that she's lying about my drinking, the officers looked at each other and looked back at the Karen family, and Officer 2 says, "That's not illegal." Karen responds, "What?" He continues and says, "It's definitely not recommended, but it's not illegal. Now, do you know the woman? Is she a friend of yours? Is she family?" Karen says, "She works here, in a bar, and she's pregnant." Karen's husband then said that he wants to see the place's liquor license revoked. Officer 2 says, "So listen, she isn't doing anything illegal. What I can do is I will talk to her, but we can't take any action beyond that. Is there anything else you observed that you'd like to report?" So the second officer comes over to me and takes me to a quiet spot while the first is getting the personal information and taking the rest of the statement. So both awesome officers then go talk to the owner, who said she was just about to call him herself on the account of the trespassing, but the sirens outside are bad for business and she was hoping the Karens would eventually leave on their own. The officers tell Karen Party that they need to leave, and Mr. Karen says, "This is a public place. I have every right to be here if I want." Officer 1 tells him, "No, sir, this is a private business, and the business owners have asked you to leave." It sounds like more than once, but at least once since we've been here. Karen then says, "This is a disgrace. This is an affront to scripture and to child safety," and Officer 2 chimes in and says, "I understand you're upset. Let's talk about it outside." He places a hand on Mr. Karen and gives him a firm look. Now, the next part was said as Mr. Karen walks out backwards so he can keep yelling at us, but bumping into things every step of the way. He says, "I will be contacting the authorities about your liquor license. I happen to be close and personal friends with the mayor, and you two, I want badge numbers. Don't think we're done here because we haven't even started." So they did make a complaint to the liquor authority, claiming among other things that we served minors. We were investigated, but obviously it came up fine. My boss asked me to hold off sharing the story with anyone until the matter was settled, but now it is, so I had to share, and I'm still laughing about it. Guys, that story was absolutely ridiculous. Where the heck did Karen get her education? Alcohol vapors can get inhaled and then enter your bloodstream and be harmful to a fetus? What? And she even had the nerve to ask OP if she paid attention in class. Oh my goodness. That's not true, right? Because if it is, I'm about to get roasted. So my dad has severe control issues around food. He must always eat more or have a bigger portion than everybody else. Sometimes he takes smaller portions to be self-righteous, but then goes and eats a second meal or course that nobody else is allowed to eat. He's also tried to say when you should stop eating, which always has to be before him, even if he's already eaten and you haven't. There's nothing worse than when you've skipped lunch and you found out that dad had a big afternoon snack, because that means dinner is gonna suck. His controlling behavior has given me food issues, where I hoard food and binge because I'm scared he's gonna take my food away. I've recently moved out, and one of the big perks is I have a healthier relationship with food. I binge less and I eat less in general, but mostly I'm not consumed by thoughts of food 24/7 like I used to be. So this Christmas was actually the first Christmas I did not binge on chocolate before and after dinner. So enter my dad. He called at my home today to fix my sink. As he was leaving, he sat me down and went through all the food I ate at Christmas and told me how much less of each item I should have ate. I tell him he needs to stop controlling my food, as it'll trigger me for a binging episode. He continues and I explain again. He tells me binging is only hurting me, and I tell him I know, but he needs to stop. I also mention how creepy it is for him to watch me eat and count what I eat during Christmas. He tells me that it's his right as my father, and anytime we have meals together, he's gonna be watching and counting. So the other things he's done are: 1. He's looked through my trash to see what I'm eating in my own home that he does not live in. 2. He questions what I eat every day. 3. He's offered to order my groceries online for me so I don't have to go out to shop during COVID. He then edited my shopping list to meet his standards. So that dad definitely has the need to feel like he's alpha all the time. Telling your kid how much they can eat, and when they can eat, and when they should stop eating is definitely something that is really, really messed up. I don't even know if that's entitled. That's more abuse, if anything. And that brings us to another end of r/entitled people. My friends, we survived. If you enjoyed the stories and want some dark fluff merch, check out those cute mugs and t-shirts at the Teespring store. If you missed the last episode of r/entitled people, a Karen's son steals OP's purse and breaks his arm, and OP gets sued. What in the world? Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.